What's up everybody, it's Jesse from Ion Aesthetics, and after many months I'm back in the garage with my Forester, and we're jumping into the next installment of the Forester detailing series where I take you guys through everything A to Z in terms of detailing and how to care for your vehicle. Now we've covered some good stuff so far, and if you haven't done so already, go back and check out those videos. We've done wheels and tires, the basics of exterior detailing, engine bay cleaning, and the basics of interior detailing. And that's the point that I'm actually at right now. I woke up and ahead of time, I already vacuumed the car, I pulled the mats out. This way I can just jump into the next segment. Now for some context, it's the middle of the summer here on Long Island. It's been incredibly hot, pretty much all across the country, but here it's been even more humid. And that's a recipe for sweating like you could not imagine when you're out there working all day. And maybe that's too much information, but long story short, my seats have absorbed more sweat than I would like to admit. My car smells the way I don't want my car to smell. It definitely is not pleasurable to get in and drive. So perfect opportunity to jump into some steam cleaning, some upholstery shampoo, and some deep cleaning of door panels, dash trim, things that I've been touching, etc. So without further ado, I'm going to pop this camera on a tripod. I'm going to grab some products to give you a general overview of what we're using, and then we're going to jump right into the process. Cue the intro music. So first things first, I'm going to be starting with the hard surfaces. There's a lot of like vinyl and hard plastics in this interior. And so the product I'm going to be using to clean that stuff is the interior cleaner by P&S. This is my favorite personally because it's in between an all-purpose cleaner and an interior detailer. So it has that sort of targeted approach to interior surfaces that you get from an interior detailer, but it does have a bit more cleaning power and it foams a little bit better, similar to an all-purpose cleaner. And so the P&S Express Interior has been my go-to. I've been working with it for a few months now. I've got just a microfiber towel. You don't need anything crazy for these. And this here is a Scrub Ninja. This is one of my favorite interior detailing tools. It's got a sort of microfiber side to it, and then as well as these like nylon, really short, soft bristles. And then a couple of brushes. I switch these in and out, but I have a work stuff detailing brush, and I have one of the stitch and seam brushes here from Ammo. This is the stiffer one, which I'll use for in between grooves on a lot of the hard plastics. He does sell a boar's hair one as well, which is good for like stitches and seams if you have like leather or vinyl seats. Now, to do this really simply, I just like to spray the applicator, put a little bit on the panel if it is a dirtier interior, and we're going to scrub and get right to work on this stuff. And once you've got that whole section clean, you're going to grab your microfiber towel, go ahead and wipe everything away. So you can actually see here I've picked up a bit of, dirt, body oils, just like grime in general off of this upper armrest here where I obviously like rest my arm and stuff like that. So good to get that stuff out of there. Now I'm going to grab the steamer, show you guys what we do next. So every time you get these intersections of different materials, like the hard plastic around this door handle pull and the armrest here, you get some buildup of product that maybe you couldn't wipe away, or sometimes you might have some stubborn dirt in there that's hard to clean out, and that's where the steamer really comes in handy. And now with steamers, just a couple of like words of caution. Number one, you don't need to have the thing on full blast. It takes just a little bit of pressure to get that product out of there. Number two, you should really get familiar with how far away you need to be in order to get this stuff away, because it is going to come out really hot, and if you're shooting things point blank, you will damage the material, especially if your car is older or is just made with some like sensitive products. So one way to test this is you get your steam blowing like that, and so stick your hand far away from it, because from here not really going to do anything. Just be careful if you have a steamer that shoots out a bit of water before the steam does. Now as you get closer and closer, you'll feel the level of heat that becomes too much, and so then you know how far from the material to be with your steamer. So for mine, I would say it's about, 6 or 8 inches before it gets really, really hot. And so that's what we're gonna try and replicate here. We're gonna blow out around all of these seams and tight areas, and maybe just use the steamer to give this perforated material like a sort of rinse, as if we were washing the exterior of a car. Now after this, we're able to free up a bit more dirt and grime. That's why it's nice to have that secondary rinse. But now I know that this surface has been really, really deeply cleaned. And that's the approach we're gonna take for the rest of the like soft vinyl and hard plastic surfaces throughout the interior. Now when it comes to the steering wheel, believe it or not, this is actually the dirtiest part of the interior most of the time. Unless you maybe don't have rubber floor mats and you're putting your feet directly on the carpets, then yeah, your carpets are probably the dirtiest thing. But your steering wheels, they pick up everything. All of like your sweat and your body oils, things you touch, you're touching doorknobs. After a while, without you realizing, this will just get like sticky. And it gets to a certain point where I actually start to notice it, and that's another good indication that it's time to do a deep interior cleaning. But maybe you're just doing a basic interior as well, it doesn't really matter. When you get to your steering wheel, take some time with this, all right? The Scrub Ninja here is really good for kind of gripping the steering wheel around and cleaning everything like that. And it's also good to grab maybe like a toothbrush or a really fine detail brush to get around these, blinker levers and, the stick for your windshield washers and everything like that. So now that we've done, we've done a door panel, we did this like center console here, we've done the dash, we've done the steering wheel, I've been flipping the towel throughout. You could see all these dark areas within the towel, and that's all the grime that we're picking up. Now it's not easy to see, especially on dark surfaces, but this is what can accumulate just over a few short months. And so that's why it's really good to do this somewhat regularly. Like even if you can get to it once a year, or every 6 months, or every 3 months, you don't have to wash your car every weekend. Just get on some type of maintenance regimen that works for you so you can keep your car free and clear of grime like this building up. Now, one other point I want to make is you might have noticed as I was steaming the steering wheel that I was keeping my towel behind it and sort of like catching the steam. That's to prevent any moisture from getting into the gauge cluster. Now, as you do a cleaning like this, it will fog up a little bit, and that's not terrible. Go around the gauges, wipe them up, make sure they're dry. But what you absolutely want to avoid is steam cleaning anything directly around the gauge cluster, because that will cause moisture to get behind these plexiglass screens, and then you'll have moisture trapped in there, and it's always going to be foggy, and if you're like me, it'll drive you nuts. So word of caution, avoid getting too close to the gauge cluster with your steamer. That's more or less the interior deep cleaning process. We'll come back for some protection at the end of everything. But essentially, it's clean, wipe, rinse with the steamer, and then give it a final dry. Some other good areas to focus on are, buttons, vents. When it comes to buttons or electronics in general, even like the head unit around the radio, these are also places where you really don't want to get too close with the steamer. If you noticed here, when I was doing this before, I definitely kept my distance there. You've got rails along here. Now these are made out of different materials on different cars, some more exposed than others, but whatever it is, you can definitely clean up the plastics around here. You've got right where the bolsters of the seat meets the actual frame, you have a lot of plastic covers. You have handles for the recliners. You've got these kick panels in here. So it really depends on your preference and how dirty your car is and how much you're looking to tackle, but that process can be carried out on all of those surfaces that you just saw. Next, we're gonna jump into the carpet and upholstery shampoo for the seats. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna go over is fabric and upholstery cleaning. What I'm gonna use for this is the 3-tier system from P&S, again. Now, you don't always need to use all 3, but the first of them is their enzyme cleaner. Now, you would use this when you're dealing with bodily fluids, or maybe you do have a really heavy, stubborn stain, and you really need to kind of pre-soak it to help break it down. So like sweat, if somebody throws up in the car, urine, things like that. Hopefully you're not dealing with that, but you definitely want to have this or some type of enzyme cleaner on hand. Once this has some time to dwell, we're going to clean everything up, and then we're going to follow up with their carpet cleaner. Now this is just more of a general fabric shampoo, all right? We're going to repeat the process with the carpet cleaner, and then at the end, their finisher is this peroxide treatment. And using this at the end is going to help ensure that should anything ever get into the seat, let's say another spill, that the foaming cleaners we used prior don't reactivate and start to foam up again. So let me show you how this works. Now, I want to start by saying there are a few different ways to clean fabric and upholstery. And one of the most common things you see are those carpet extractors sucking up all that like nasty juice. They're dumping it out at the end. Don't get me wrong, like there's a time and place for it, and they do a really deep level of cleaning. But very rarely do I find, number one, that it's necessary, or number two, that's what customers are actually like looking for and willing to pay for. What I try and do is I try and err on the side of a drier method, and the extractors introduce a lot of water, not just into the material, but the foam beneath it. And so it makes it really difficult, and it takes a lot longer for that stuff to dry out. So the way this dry extraction process works is to simply get the product onto the material. We're gonna give it some time to dwell, maybe a minute or two. We're gonna activate it with the steamer, and I've changed out my attachment here to the brush. We're gonna pat everything dry and vacuum up the residual. We're gonna do that for the enzyme cleaner. We're gonna do that for the carpet shampoo. And then at the end, we're gonna spray the peroxide and let it sit. So that first part with the enzyme cleaner really started to break down like the sweat and the bodily fluid and maybe some of like the odor causing bacteria in there. The carpet cleaner that I'm letting soak now will target more surface level or like general types of dirt. And having the steam cleaner definitely increases the cleaning power of anything that you're using. But I know that not everyone has a steam cleaner. So if you don't, what do? Well, there's a couple of options. Number one, this is a soft bristled drill brush. It attaches right to the drill, and it basically spins, and it will agitate the fibers without destroying them. They're really inexpensive. If you want to spend a little bit more, you can buy a kit that has the same bristle in different types of heads or different type of bristles in a collection altogether. The second thing, maybe you don't have a drill either, is you can get something as simple as this. This is a carpet cleaning brush. It comes from Ammo NYC. And after you spray and let the product sit and dwell for a little bit, you can just come through and start to agitate like that. Come through with your microfiber towel at the end, pick everything up, and then again, a pass with the vacuum. Now the reason this works really well is if you're not using a steamer at all, you're really minimizing the amount of moisture going into the fabric. But number two, the steamer also uses a lot less moisture than a carpet extractor would introduce here. So I'm really not trying to saturate this too much with product and moisture because I don't want that stuff to get into the foam, because then my towel can't pick it up and then the vacuum can't get the residuals either. Now you obviously can't see this on camera, you'd have to experience it for yourself, but when you're done doing this, the fabric and the foam should have a generally dry feel to the touch. And if you push against it, right, and you squeeze that foam, think of like a sponge, you really shouldn't have any moisture, you know, seeping out of that or coming onto your, you know, the palm of your hand. So that being said, this had a minute or two to soak. Let's get in there with the steamer and agitate all this, wipe it away, vacuum it up, and then we'll be ready for the peroxide. And so that's it. This seat has been fully cleaned. We've done the enzyme cleaner. We've come in there with some carpet shampoo. We've hit it with the peroxide treatment to ensure that the product doesn't reactivate and foam in the future. And it is somewhat moist to the touch, but again, generally dry compared to extracting. And so we're gonna walk away and we're gonna let this dry for a few hours. And we're gonna come back at the end with some finishing touches, show you guys how to protect this stuff and how to protect and condition some of the hard surfaces that were cleaned earlier. All right, folks, so it's actually the next day after I got done shampooing all of the fabric on the seats, just got caught up doing some other stuff and decided, you know what, I'll let everything dry, I'll come back tomorrow. Now, if you don't have time on your side where you can just give the car like a few hours or overnight to dry, there's a couple of things you can do to make sure that the fabric is dry before you go to protect it. One is go get a hair dryer. Most people have a hair dryer at home, and you basically just put it on like a high heat setting and blow dry the seats. Be careful if you have vinyl or any other materials that you don't get too close to them. And I would even say the same thing goes for the fabric. It's kind of like with the steamer. Figure out like on your own skin how close is too hot and maintain that same safe distance with the fabric. And pass over it, you know, left and right, up and down until the material is dry. If it is a nice day out, which yesterday was absolutely miserable, it was like pouring rain and flooding all day. If it's sunny outside, pull the car out, open the doors, make sure the light's turned off, or just roll down all the windows and let the car sit outside. In the summer heat, it's not gonna take that long for that fabric to dry. You could go and get one of those like air movers, which is basically like, it's just like a round fan and you place it on the seat and it just pushes air through the seat and dries it out. You know, you see that in some pro detail shops, but you don't need stuff like that. You can just, like I said, park it outside, give it some heat, give it some time to dry, windows down, but make sure it's dry before you go to protect it. Now, as far as the protection goes, what I'm gonna be using is Smart Fabric by G-Technic here. Now, this is a really easy product to use. You spray it directly on the fabric, just kind of rub it in a little bit, and then give it some time to set. It's gonna make the upholstery a lot more water resistant. It's gonna repel liquids, repel a bit of sweat. You can get about 6 to 12 months out of this stuff, maybe 6 months for someone like me who really gets in and out of this car a lot. But I'm not expecting to put a force field around everything. I just wanna put something there so that the maintenance and any future cleaning is a little bit easier, and God forbid I do have a spill or some type of accident in the car. It helps me just minimize the damage. So let me show you how this works. Like anything else, just gonna give this a good shake up, all right? And I'm gonna spray it directly onto the material. Just some light mists, and make sure that I get good, even coverage. All right. I'm wearing a glove while I do this. Probably not a bad idea to wear a mask too if you're not in a well-ventilated area. And I'm just gonna kind of rub it in and spread it out evenly among the material. All right. I'm gonna repeat this on the other seat as well. and then just go inside, go about getting ready for my day. I'll probably be out here in about an hour to take the car out, and the seat should be dry. Now the last and final thing we're gonna protect are the hard surfaces, all right? All of the vinyl and plastics that we were cleaning before. And to do this, we're gonna use the C6 Matte Dash, also by G-Technic, all right? So I'm obviously a fan of the G-Technic interior protection products. The C6 does a really good job of just darkening the material a bit, but not making it look fake. It leaves a really natural finish, so just kind of deepens the colors of everything. But doesn't make it like oily or greasy and give it that like manufactured shiny look. This is gonna help preserve the color of the material over time. This is a 20-year-old car. It's gonna prevent the materials from cracking and fading and deteriorating, and just help increase the life of everything. The application of this is really simple. You can use a foam applicator or a microfiber applicator. I just tend to grab like whatever's closest by and on hand. I think the more I've used this, the more partial I have become to the foam applicators, just because I feel like I can handle them a bit better. But it doesn't really matter. Use whatever works for you. I'll show you how simple and easy this is. All right, so we're gonna give this a good shake up. Got my applicator here. All right. Couple sprays directly onto the applicator. And we're gonna apply this in a crosshatch pattern, just like we would pretty much everything else. Get nice, even coverage. And you can see it just slightly darkens everything. Gives it a rich, natural finish while avoiding that oily, greasy look. That's it for this one. In addition to the other basic, vacuuming, wiping things down, cleaning the glass, if you have a deeper level of filth or you want to get your car just dialed into a higher level, breaking out a steam cleaner, having some things in your arsenal for carpet and upholstery shampoo, and a way to condition and protect all of the vinyl and plastic surfaces in the interior, whatever works best for you, is really all you need to make sure that you get as deep of a level of clean and a highest level of perfection that you can achieve when you're tackling your interior. Now, if you liked a video like this, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, leave me some comments, let me know what you thought, let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see in the future. As for now, I'm going to wrap it up. The future videos we have left on this will, we'll start to dive into the paint correction and ceramic coating aspect of things. I definitely want to do a glass parency overview and install tutorial. And I think we'll take care of these bumpers and we'll do some black trim restoration. I'm thinking of either a tutorial or maybe a tutorial plus a comparison. I have Solution Finish, which I've been using for years. I've always been curious about the Cerakote stuff. If there's anything else out there that you would recommend for black trim restoration that you'd like to see me try, definitely let me know. But otherwise, you guys know the deal. I'm Jesse from Island Aesthetics. As always, I appreciate you taking some time to check this out, and I'll see you on the next one.